So it's been a long time since I've done any streaming, and this is like only my third time, so bear with me. Thanks for your patience, and I hope this will be fun. Uh, what I Let me tell you what I want to do today. First, one thing I want to do is I want to um, do some. I want to take my. Oh my goodness, there are people in the chat. This is exciting. Hi. Um, what I want to do is I recently did a survey because I wrote a book, but I want to do a video course. Book is one thing. I want to like show you how to walk through stuff and do exercises together and have it all on video. So I did a survey, and I want to now take those survey results and analyze them. And to do that, I need to do some code. And sure, I could probably try to get some Python together and do that, but this is an opportunity to do something new, to write some Swift code that will process my survey results, and we'll see how far we get. But one of my goals is to start streaming more often, which probably means I would like to do this session not very long, like hour max. What time is it now? Let's see. It's 1:50. 1:50 over here. Apologies to anyone watching from colder climes. It is unseasonably warm today in California. You see, I'm wearing a t-shirt. Anyway, let's see how this goes. So now I'm gonna try to switch to my new fancy thing. Oh wait, first let's go here. I want to show you what I'm talking about with the survey results. So let's see. It looks okay. So my survey just had 4 questions. You can see one first. I know here's a survey trick. I know where people came from because I put up different surveys and I put up different links depending on whether it was to my mailing list or out on Twitter or whatever. So that gives me an idea of like who's most responsive. Question one was like, how interested would you be in a online course about iOS unit testing? And so it was like, one is like super interested, down to I think down at the bottom I've got like somebody who's like, I'm not really interested at all. But I want to take their input into account, but I want to weight the input. So my idea is to take the interest score, which is in this column, and give it like a Fibonacci weighting. And then, well, let me show you what's on the right here. So besides the interest, I had, so that was question 1, was like, how interested are you? And then there are 3 more questions. One was like, what are the problems that you face? What are the things that you want or goals you have? And the last question was like, what would be like killer content? Like I would definitely buy this if you made it thing. And those were freeform, completely freeform, because I wanted you to have at it. Thank you, by the way, if you took the survey. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your input. So let me take an example here. Here's somebody who responded. Of course, I have no idea who it is. That like, what problem or what annoyance do you face? And since it's freeform text, This person wrote, writing testable code and adding tests to legacy code. Two very interesting things. So my approach was to break out up to 4 things from your whatever folks responded and give them keywords. So for this person, it's like they stated 2 problems. One is testable code and the other is legacy code. And then I want to give that a weight according to some Fibonacci thing. And then I want to add it all together, right? And add up the weights so that I can see like where are people really wanting some more help, or what would they really want from a mythical, hypothetical online unit testing course. I see folks in the chat. My goodness, there are a surprising number of folks online. Say hello in the chat if you're so inclined. But this is my goal. Now let me try to switch to this thing. Gotta use my new tech, my new toy. Oh, it's a little bright. Hang on, let me see if I can adjust that. You know what? Forget it. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. Let's see if that comes out okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to work on the contrast there, but I don't want to do it now while folks are here. So, let's see here. Actually, let me change to this one because that way you can see the columns I'm working with. So the first column, I'm just going to ignore for the purposes of like figuring out how to weight folks' answers. The second column is interest. Let's put that down here. Well, let's like skip one, skip interest. And this I want to make into a Fibonacci weight. Let's see if you can see that. Kind of. So. Apologies for the exposure there. And then we skip the freeform text but then there are up to 4 problems. So it's like problem 1 to 4. By the way, these are my rubber duck friends. Of course, I'm not quite rubber ducking if you're active in the chat, but these are actually my little buddies here, including this one from the British Museum. So then I've got problems. I have the same sort of thing for desires. Also 1 to 4. And the last section is like, what would be killer content? Or something like that. So. This is what I want to do is figure out this weight, apply it to, say, take. Let's see if I can come up with an example. Someday I'll get back to London. Won't it be nice to like see each other one of these days? All right, so we take like a problem like, for example, what to test. And I want to give this a weight. So this will be some sort of, I don't know. I don't even know what the Fibonacci number will be. 8? Who knows? So this will be something like that, which the weights accumulate. So this will be kind of an interesting problem. That's the goal. Let's keep rolling and see where we get. Now, let's fire up Xcode. Why is it beach balling on me? What type of project? You know, I think that, by the way, I generally don't use Xcode. I will switch to AppCode as soon as I can. However, when starting a new project or messing with targets and stuff, yeah. When doing sort of project tinkery stuff, I still find it easier and to use Xcode. And I find when I create a new project in AppCode, I still have to go back and like maybe fix up some stuff and add some things. So let's just make something in here. Okay, Mac OS. Let's do this. Let's make a command line tool. It's not going to be like a fancy thing. I don't think I'm even going to have arguments. Why make a command line tool then? Partly to show you an example. Let's say, let's call this survey and stick it out there. Okay, so here's our wonderful command line tool. Which if we run, what's it do? Hello? It finished running? Oh, there it is. Finally. Hello, world. Okay. All right. So let's quit. Actually, no, let's not quit because I want to do some target stuff. You will see it didn't ask me about unit tests because technically for a command line tool, you get no unit tests. There is a trick for that. I want to show you what that trick is. Let's see here. So here in main, why is this so slow? There we go. That's all this thing does. It prints. What we really need is a second target. And this will be a framework. And I'll call it survey core. How about that? And this time it does let us include tests, so yay. So let's see what we got. So now we should be able to come to survey core, and it has the usual sort of garbage set of tests. Now it's time to get rid of stuff. Okay, let's quit Xcode. It's good to see folks online. This is fun. Wow. This is like the most people I've ever had. Now it's app code time. Let me open this with app code. Try to resize things so that I can still see your chat. And you can see everything without my face over it. All right. Now, the first thing app code does is, hang on, what's all this? Hi, unpronounceable. Okay. Sure. Just catching up on the chat there. The first thing app code does, which may make you go, oh my gosh, like this is terrible from coming from being used to Xcode, is it's going through and updating symbols and building an index and all this stuff. Xcode does that too, of course, but it sort of lets you in sooner. We really need app code to build up its version of the abstract syntax tree of all the code so that we get all the nice things from its tools. All right. So here are our wonderful and unexciting tests. Let me see how this is in terms of like how clear it is. I've tried to size things to be visible for you folks. Is this big enough? Let me know if you can read the code, even though I'm about to throw this away, or if I need to change anything. Otherwise, I will continue and assume you can see it. It's still building stuff up here, but let's get rid of these garbage tests. That's sort of the first thing to go, right? Hello. Big enough, just about. It is very low contrast. Let me see. Let's try something else. Let me switch. Alrighty. Thank you for the feedback, folks. I appreciate it. This is how we learn how to do this stuff. Let's see, where is it? I'm trying to remember. Okay, first let's get away from Darkula and go to a light theme. Oh, there. That's also much bigger. That should be better, I hope. I think that's bigger also. Is it big enough? Let me know, Kithro. All right, let's get rid of this. Delete. And let's, so what do I test? I'm at the point now where it's like, what do I do? I don't know. I've got rows and columns, right? Oh, well, first thing I ought to do is export this to a CSV. Let's do that. Thanks for the feedback there. All right, we've got survey. Hopefully that does it in a CSV. Yep, there it is. All right. So the reason I like app code more than Xcode is for the tooling it gives me, especially around refactoring. It's better suited for TDD. Well, watch and maybe you'll see some things that may interest you. So where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Let's go back. If we look at the CSV now, right here it is. Whee, bunch of stuff. So now this is something we can actually work with. We have the first line, which is the labels, which I want to ignore. And then from there on, each line is a is somebody, an individual giving me feedback. And inside of those are the answers in columns. So it's kind of like, let's see. Let's do a little more design around this. So I have survey, which is one big glob of comma separated code, comma separated values. I have the lines, each of those, like, what are these? What's each row? And it's not an answer. I mean, it could be a row, but that doesn't seem like I want better language around this. An entry, survey, entry, maybe. So we have entries. We need to do like that. Let me get back to the question here in a second. And each entry has columns. Maybe it is rows and columns at first. I don't know. I can always, one interesting thing about TDD is you don't have to have perfect design up front. I'm doing this to get an idea of where to go. So maybe I should just stick with row and column to be more straightforward, so that columns, so that if I change my mind and come up with something better, then I can always rename things. Now, let me see what's going on here in the chat. Yeah, stuff, folks talking about the JetBrains tools, which are awesome. It's like a real IDE. Let's see, in iOS unit tests, is the trend to test how many times a function is called? It is? Oh, well, yeah, I guess it is. As unit tests are mostly in real object and rest mocked, does it make sense to test the number of calls? Gotcha. Okay, so you're talking about like when you're not talking to the real thing, you're talking to something that's been mocked out behind a boundary. And yes, checking how many times you call that is important, because take, for example, you've mocked out network stuff, which is a good thing to have a fake boundary, right? Then you definitely say if we have a button tap and that invokes some action, then we definitely want to invoke one action, not any number of them, right? So that's an example of why counting the number of times a mocked function is called is important. All right, so let's see. We're going to read in rows and columns. Going to do some accumulation. I'm still kind of struggling with like a little bit of the design, but I think rows and columns might be enough to go with. So what I want is to take the contents of the file. All right, so here's where we're going to start sort of playing around with the two sides of things. We have survey, which looks like this, and all it does is hello world. Let's run this in app code just to see it like that. And I've turned on a thing down here. You see when I a lovely new plugin I'm trying. There's hello world. The plugin shows you what keystrokes I'm using so that I don't have to call them out all the time, and you can kind of get a sense for what I'm doing as things fly around. So not knowing where to start exactly, let's just start over here. Actually, let's drop this CSV so that it's inside next to the project. And then let's read it. Let's get it in somehow. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Let me get that screen back up for you guys. Thanks for the heads up there. There we go. All righty. This is fun. It's like definitely easier. Yeah, thanks, Paul. So instead of hello world, you know what I want is to take that file and read it into a string. I'm not going to worry about like making this ideal. How am I controlling the stream from my phone? So I'm using OBS and have opened up some sort of port inside of it so that when I go to the port, let's see, it doesn't look great. And I'm sure there are nicer tools that do this, but I can see the different scenes on here. And that lets me switch around. So I just want to read in the file. And it's not a huge file, so we can just read in the whole thing. So let's see. How do I make a string out of that thing? Like, or maybe I need data from it, from a file. Is that what's the now? This is where the sort of the mob program. I don't want to say mob anymore because I'm in the United States. Yeah. Ensemble programming. Ensemble programming. Isn't that nicer than mob? Where together, you know, I'm at the keyboard and you're giving me some input as I cry out for help. Oh, here we go. Contents of URL. That's probably something I want, I think, where the URL is going to be a file URL with path. Who was it who came up with the term ensemble? It's Marit. Marit, and I forget her last name. And let's see here. All right, let's get this. I'm just going to go with absolute paths. So there it is. There's the survey.csv. That's what I want right there. Let me just grab this whole thing and go like that. Actually, let me get rid of this first. I want to take small steps. If there's one thing that I want to demonstrate for you, it is small steps, baby. Like, is this valid? Initializes a newly created file URL. Okay, so this is just the URL. So that should run and not barf. Okay, so that's fine. So now if I take that and say make, what was it? Data with that. And why is it giving me the squiggly? Oh, it's telling me that I should try that. That makes sense because it may or may not be there. Let's try that. Fatal error. The file survey couldn't be, oh, survey.c. There we go. Full name. File couldn't be opened. Oh. Beep. There we go. Thank you. All right. So, this isn't TDD, what I'm doing right now. I'm hacking. It's more like I'm using main here as like a kind of a playground in a way. And that's totally legit. Totally legit. I haven't written a single test yet. This may shock you, but that's, sometimes you got to play around to know what it is you want to do. That's one question folks have about test-driven development is like, how can you write the first test if you don't know what the code is? Well, you fool around just like you normally do, except then you want to capture what you learn inside of a test. All right, so here, this gives me some data, and let's extract a variable. Actually, no. Well, okay, let's call it data. And because, can I make a string from that data somehow? Data. Where the encoding is UTF-8. So if I do that, can I print that? Will this work? Hey, there we go. All right. Celebration. We've made our first steps. So now I have a giant string with my survey results, and I want to what? Like at some point now I want to pass this off to the survey core where I can write tests for it. I don't want tests. I don't think I want to build in like the knowledge of the file name. I don't think I want to mess around with adding command line arguments, though. I know there's the nice new way to do that Apple has some great Swift package manager tooling around that. But I don't want to bother. I'm just going to use the same name. It's there in the project. Oh, you know what I haven't done? I need to commit. Commit. And to commit, one thing I want is Git Ignore. If you have not seen Git Ignore before, this is the great way to generate the Git Ignore file, so that you don't check in a whole bunch of like stuff that's not helpful. So let's see. I'm on Mac OS and I'm using app code. I'm going to use Xcode too. May as well stick that in there. And let's create. Okay, there it is. Bunch of stuff. Let's go here and stick this into Git Ignore. There we go. So now I have Git Ignore. Let me move this a bit. Sorry for the dark. But hopefully you can sort of squint and see that. And Git init. So now if I add everything, and there you see the contents of what it's going to add. It does keep some interesting, some idea is the app code or the JetBrains stuff. I normally exclude it all, but why not? I am using fish shell. For the longest time, I was on Z shell, and I have become a fish convert. Love it. Okay. So now, if I come back here and look at the Git stuff, there it is. So now we should be good to go. All right. How long have we been going here? Longer than I thought, and I haven't written a single test. This may take a few sessions because I don't want to go on forever. I don't want you to have to watch for a very long time. That doesn't seem like fun to me. I'd rather we do this more often. So in the interest of moving along, I want to try to get to a test or something, right? Let's just keep moving along here. So do I pass in, what am I going to send the survey core? Is it going to be a string? Is it going to be data? Is it going to be a path? I think I should probably put, it's not going to be a path because I want the test to be able to specify something other than the real data. Like I want to have little small chunks of comma separated values in the test. So I don't want to specify a file path. And I probably don't want to encode it as data either. I think I'm going to stick with strings. Lazy. So what we can do is let's assign this to like that and pass this off now to something in the survey core. I don't even think I need foundation. And what will I call? Well, now it's time to TDD. let's come over here to the tests. You will remember that I took the template test file and got rid of it. So what I want to start with is a new test. And I have a favorite template that I made that I like. Isn't this the typical thing, the good thing to do? To be motivated to make a tool is you want to solve a problem for yourself, and you figure it might help other people as well. So this is a template that I made, but let me explain. It's an Xcode template, but I can get there by saying, yeah, make me a file from an Xcode template. And let's stick it into the right area. And what's it gonna be? This is gonna start with a row reader. The first thing I want to do is like a row chunker or a row splitter or something. Or row. Oh shoot, I've lost the chat. I need to bring that back. There we go. Oh, we still have folks following along. That's good. Let's see. Row. Help me. Row your boat. Row chunker. Row splitter. Row thunker. Row. I don't know. Splitter. And let's say, yes, always add things. And okay, so here's what this template does is it starts off row parser. Yeah, I can always rename it later. It starts off by trying to make a guess as to what to import, and it didn't quite get it right because I have multiple targets. That's okay, fix it up like that. And I want to run this first test 0, to make sure that it is hooked up properly. Now, I can just click here. This will run, like Xcode, it will just run the selected test suite or test, depending on like which you click. But I want to set up a thing that lets me run all my tests. And this is a key difference between Xcode and AppCode is like, can't I just use the scheme? Well, I don't exactly have a scheme. I have this in AppCode and the other JetBrains products or the IDEs have this idea about configurations. It's like, what are you going to do? And what I want is to create a new XCTest configuration. There we go. And it's named it all tests. The target is survey core tests, and that should be good. So now my expectation is that this will fail. Ta-da! It says so. Does anyone know why there's always this noise at the top of the test results? It's like, I don't care about architecture, blah, blah, blah. I wish there were a way to silence that. If you know, and come across like know a way to make that quieter, I'd love to hear it. You can always DM me on or not necessarily private. You can always just tweet it to me. I'm QCoding on Twitter. So now I have my failing tests. Hooray. And I can get rid of this. And we are ready to do what exactly? Chunking up lines, row splitter, row parser. So I'm going to create a new test. And I'm using these, what are they called? It's called a live template inside of here, but in Xcode it's called snippets. I have my snippets that I like, where it's like, it's suggesting to me, what do I want to name it? It's like, I don't know exactly yet. We're going to split rows. And so I want some data. Where, let's see, we have like row 1 and row 2 or something like that. And I want to send this to a row splitter. Now we're going to start seeing some of the benefits of app code. By the way, thank you for buying my book right there. I appreciate it. In test-driven development, I like being really strict. I feel like the more strict I get, there's more, like yet more strictness waiting for me. And strict sounds so hard. Like it sounds like it's no fun. It's actually a lot of fun for me. What I want to do is I want to write up some test code before the production code exists so that I get a sense of what I want it to be. So I want to make a row splitter and then call it. So there it is. And it says there is no row splitter as expected, but it shows this. This is what you don't get in Xcode. I want to make a row splitter in a new file. Let's do that. And it says, great. Where do you want it to go? I'll stick it in the survey core and here. What do I want it to be? A class, a struct, an enum. I don't think it matters a whole lot. I tend to use structs for almost everything these days. Oh, let me get my target right here. That should do it. There we go. We can see it created row splitter over in here, and it's got nothing, just sitting there. But now that should be enough to satisfy this, and we can keep going. All right. So this is going to be the system under test for this particular test suite. So I'm going to make it, and I want to split data or something like that. And what is this going to give me? This is going to give me a rows. Like this. You know, why didn't I just stop when I got the red squiggly, and I'll show you why. By the way, a quick answer to Capitan. Do I have a set stream schedule? I do not, but I would like to start doing this on Saturdays around this time, maybe a little earlier, especially for the folks across the Atlantic. But I want to try to do this hopefully every Saturday, or maybe every other Saturday. I'll work on it, Captain. How are we doing on time? I've been going for about an hour, but I do want to get some code going here before we quit. So the reason I defined all this stuff and the reason I'm explicit about the type here is like what does it take? It takes data. Well, a string. It really needs a better name. Survey. I'll say survey for now. All right, and so this is what I wanted to get to. You see it's got the red squiggly again. If I put my cursor in there, that's when the light bulb appears. And it suggests that I can also get at its contents with an option enter, which is what I usually do. I go like this, and I say, yeah, let's make this method. Boom, here we are. Accept, 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 and it doesn't know what to provide, so it gives me a fatal error. That seems okay for now, because now this should croak. Like it should just die. There we go. And what do I expect? I expect that rows is going to be row 1 and row 2, like that. Does that make sense? And let's split this up. One thing I like to do is separate the parts of the test with blank lines. So this first section from here to here is the arrange part. It's setting up the stuff I need. This here is the act part. It's the part that we're going to exercise. And then we have the assert. So that's arrange, act, assert. You might know these by different names. In the behavioral driven world, this is given, when, then. Same thing. I used to actually put these given, when, then comments in my test code until I figured out that A, they were everywhere, and that all I need really is some consistency around blank lines. So I try to make it so that I have a blank line here and a blank line here so that my eye scanning can quickly see there are the 3 sections. That's what I want. So that's a tip for you. This will still crash. All right. Now let's TDD. Here is the expectation of what I want. Let's go over to the implementation, and I'm going to do something. If you haven't seen TDD before, I'm going to do something here that's going to make you just go, what? How about that? I think this will pass, don't you? It does pass. You may ask yourself, why in the world would I do such a thing? Return hard-coded strings. And the answer is, I am testing the test. By going from red to green, I am validating that the test works. The test works. The code is crap. But the test works. And technically, I could get this to, like, what I teach my students is that when you have something hard-coded, that's usually an indication that you want more tests. And I could make up like another thing that like adds row 3 or something like that. But when you're dealing with strings, there's really no real strong need to. All I need to see is that I have a hard-coded value. It's pretty obvious that this isn't going to be practical for anything. So, and it's grayed out here. The reason this is gray is because the return statement is technically not necessary, but let's keep it there for now. So let's take the survey and split will this work? Will this work? Doesn't like that. So here, what AppCode is suggesting is, do I have the return type wrong? Would I rather return a subsequence? And it's like, maybe. Like maybe, if for those of you who are coming into Swift somewhat new and haven't dealt with sort of string subsequences before, what it is instead of, if you like take a string, let me come back here. If we take this string and split it, and it actually had to like create new type, new objects, create new strings for each of those, things could get heavyweight really fast. So instead, a subsequence is like, I'm going to point into that string and say, this first string is going to start from here to here, and this next string subsequence is going to start and go from here to here. And so it keeps it light. So maybe I want it to return a subsequence. Let's just explore what happens. I don't even know what I'm doing. And that's part of the fun of TDD, is experimenting. I can quickly validate whether this is okay, and it's not liking this type. If I remove this, there we go. And that passed. Surprise! It passed with doing less work than I expected, and that's another benefit of test-driven development. Is when you're coding sort of without feedback, it's easy to get lost and say, I need to build up this thing, I need to call this thing. Here, I just got rid of the explicit type. You see, it now knows, and it shows, AppCode shows the actual type as sort of like this ghost type here. This part here, subsequence, that's not real. That's not in there. Right? We can add it, we can remove it. But just by fixing the compile error, the test passes. I think that is probably about all we want to do. This is barely the barest beginning of anything. But so it doesn't help me advance towards my goal very far of processing my survey results. But it did show you a few things. It showed you app code, why I like it for TDD, and a little taste of test-driven development if you haven't done that. By the way, let's quickly commit this so I don't lose it. That's good enough for a commit message. Done. And then it'll be waiting there until next time. I'm going to try to do this next week. Yeah. Let's try. Let's make it a thing. Let's see if we can't get Twitch going. So to wrap up here, let's see. And there we go. All right. So I hope this has been fun. Still got a fair number of you hanging around, so thanks. I'll also I'm gonna toss this recording up on YouTube so that other folks can see it. But I really appreciate your being part of the chat and helping me and asking good questions. It gives us something to talk about. I really wish we could talk. So someday we'll get past this horrible pandemic, right? Hang in there, folks. Stay healthy, stay well. And now I have to figure out how do I stop this thing? Oh, that's right. You're no longer seeing my screen, so I can bring back OBS and say, that's it. Farewell, stay healthy, stay well. Until next time, and see you next week. Fingers crossed. All right, take care.